He's the political director of the ACLU. He was at the march down in Washington, D.C. And before we get into some of the policy here, just want to get your reaction to what you saw, what you participated in this morning. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, I thought there were thousands of people who showed up here in D.C., tens of thousands, and they were showing the moral outrage of the moment, reflecting the fact that you have all these families who've been separated. And is America going to stand by and watch this silently? Are we going to rise up with anger and frustration and call for demands to change policy? The answer is yes. People are not going to sit by quietly. And I think most importantly, the mobilization is working. You see Donald Trump backtracking from a policy. You see a court issuing a nationwide injunction mandating that he reunite families. And then you see calls for abolishing ICE. All of this happening because people are raising the decibel volume in this moment.
Faiz, tell us about the two tracks that you're operating on right now. There is the political one. We see the marches across the country today, and then there's the work that the ACLU is doing, the legal work that it's doing. Help us understand how those two things work in tandem.
Yeah, so we filed a lawsuit in February when we saw families starting to become separated. For months and months, we had been arguing that case in court. It wasn't until the missing children moment arose on social media and you saw the nation awaken with its conscience. And then at that moment, two things happened to our legal case. One is Donald Trump backtracked from his policy order that he wanted to separate families, acknowledging that he was wrong. What a tragic and immoral act to acknowledge that you had separated families for no good reason whatsoever. And the second thing that happened was that the judge issued the order, right? And he issued a nationwide injunction saying that Donald Trump must reunite every family 30 days. If there's a child under 5, that family needs to be reunited within 14 days, and every parent must be able to talk to their child within the first 10 days. And what we've learned ever since the judge issued that order is that the government doesn't have any systems to allow for families to be reunited. It's an outrage. They've got lists of families, parents on one side, children on another, but they can't reunite them because they haven't kept decent track and decent order of the separations. And so one of the things that we're trying to get out of today is that the public pressure needs to increase to demand that every family is reunited by the Trump administration.
And President Trump, who's in Bedminster, New Jersey, just tweeted a moment ago. He's been active on Twitter this morning, tweeting about his former colleague Sean Spicer's new book, tweeting about ICE. This is his latest. I never pushed the Republicans in the House to vote for the immigration bill, either Goodlatte 1 or 2, because it could never have gotten enough Democrats as long as there is the 60-vote threshold. I released many prior to the vote, knowing we need more Republicans to win in November. My last question to you, Faiz, I picked up the New York Times this morning. I read the editorial about the marches taking place there. The marches taking place across the country this weekend are really about the soul of America. We are focused, I think rightly, on these 2,047 kids who've been separated from their parents. But help us understand the bigger issues at stake here and why you're out there today.
Well, so on immigration alone, there has been so many injustices within this administration. You remember the Dreamer program, right? Trump ended the DACA program, has no plan for allowing these children to stay. You've seen increases in the Border Patrol agency. You've seen increases in ICE agency. Those agencies are run amok with billion-dollar budgets. Then you've got sanctuary crackdowns by Jeff Sessions. You've got building of 10 cities. You've got housing of people in military bases as if they're criminals or terrorists. People literally trying to flee persecution, and you're treating them as if they're Osama bin Laden. So you have all of that occurring just in the immigration space, and I think this is an intersectional moment. People all across America have heard voices saying, you know, we want to ban you, detain you, deport you, surveil you, separate you, call you guilty without due process, take your land and water and build an oil pipeline through it, take away your health care. If you're a woman, make your health care decision for you. I think you see an intersectionality going on that people are understanding. If it's not me right now, it could be me, and I need to speak up for so many others who are being hurt, so many vulnerable and marginalized communities. That's what the moment is really all about.
Faiz Shakir calling this
I will say one more thing.
Yeah,
people are going to vote. People are going to vote in November like their rights depend on it. And I guarantee you that. People are going to vote in November like their rights depend on it.
Faiz Shakir calling this an intersectional moment. We just heard from Senator Kamala Harris a few moments ago. She called this an inflection point. We're going to continue to monitor those protests, those rallies taking place across the country. But up next...